Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep today into, well, a feeling. Something that I think almost everyone carries around, but maybe doesn't always have a name for.
Mm.
It hits you sometimes when things are quiet. That quiet, familiar, just persistent weight.
Yes. Yeah, that heavy feeling. And it's funny because it resists all the usual fixes, doesn't it?
Totally.
Like you wake up, you've had decent sleep, but it's still there. Or you finish some huge project, finally get it off your plate, and the weight doesn't really lift. It just kind of shifts.
Yeah, it moves, settles deeper maybe,
Yeah.
like into your chest or your jaw. I feel it there sometimes.
Exactly. Or that space, like right behind your eyes. It's that kind of heavy that, coffee doesn't touch and ticking things off a list doesn't seem to lighten.
And instantly, right, our minds just leap into action. Problem-solving mode.
Oh, immediately.
We treat it like a logistical failure or something. We start listing solutions. Okay, I'm just tired. Or, I'll feel better after I get through these emails. Or, I need to fix that thing I've been putting off.
Right. Or the big one. I need to finally become that organized, mindful, successful person I'm supposed to be. Then it'll go away.
Yeah, trying to solve this deep, almost existential thing with like better scheduling or these huge self-improvement projects.
But the weight, it doesn't really care about your calendar, does it? Or your 5-year plan. And what's really radical about the perspective we're exploring today is how it totally reframes this heaviness.
How so?
It suggests that this isn't really a failure. It's not even burnout, not in the usual sense. It's quieter than that, older maybe, and definitely more stubborn. It's more like a signal, like a deep biological alarm bell saying, basically, you have forgotten how to be here.
Wow. Okay. Forgotten how to be here. That really shifts things. It's not about the weight itself being the problem, but maybe our distance from right now, from ourselves.
Precisely. Yeah. So our mission kind of for this deep dive is to really unpack that Gestalt perspective on finding peace. Because this whole framework suggests that the search for solutions, for the right technique, that's often the thing keeping us stuck. It's the avoidance.
The searching is the avoidance.
In many ways, yes. True peace, or maybe better put, true self-contact, it doesn't really come from finding the perfect method. It emerges when we return to just simple, raw awareness. So we're exploring what it actually means to be here, like really here, with whatever's happening inside you right now, without that constant urge to edit it or fix it or, perform wellness.
Sounds like welcoming the unwelcome guest, something like that.
That's a great way to put it. Exactly.
Okay, let's start with the running then. That constant activity, that pursuit, we think is progress. We look at this weight, this feeling, and we assume it's like a deficit,
Right.
something we have to overcome with more effort. More data, more meetings, maybe another healing modality, more achievements, anything really to feel like we're moving away from that internal discomfort.
And that very activity, that relentless running, that's the interruption. That's the core idea here. The weight isn't supposed to be this roadblock you just blast through. It's more like, well, the source puts it beautifully, like a gentle, persistent knock on the door of your awareness.
So it's not an enemy, it's communication.
It's the organism trying to get your attention, just saying, hello, I'm still here, waiting for you to notice me.
So the body isn't sending a message like, you're broken, go fix yourself. It's more like, hey, you're disconnected, come back.
That is the absolute pivotal shift in this Gestalt approach, because our default, our culturally trained response, it's always diagnosis first.
Right, feel something uncomfortable, slap a label on it.
Instantly. Anxiety, mild depression, trauma response, emotional dysregulation. We pathologize the feeling itself, and then we try to treat the label we just applied.
Yeah.
But in this framework, the focus is just meeting the feeling first. Before the labels, before the story. We emphasize data, not diagnosis.
Okay, but that sounds incredibly hard in practice, doesn't it? Like if I feel that familiar, tight knot in my stomach, my first instinct, my only instinct sometimes, is to ask, why am I anxious? Or even just, what do I need to do to make this stop?
And that's totally understandable. That's years, decades maybe, of conditioning. The Gestalt response is, well, it's slower. It's more elemental almost. It asks you, don't push it away. Don't try to solve it yet. Don't analyze it into the ground. Don't even spiritualize it by saying, oh, it's just energy moving through.
So what then? Just sit with it.
Just meet the sensation itself as it is. Practice saying, maybe just internally, a knot. Okay, you're here. That's it. That's the beginning. We're making contact.
Just acknowledging it. without assigning blame or judging it for being there or expecting it to instantly change.
Exactly. And the really profound concept here is that this raw, unfiltered contact with whatever is alive in you right now, that's the beginning of peace. It's not the reward at the end of the journey.
That's backwards from how we usually think about it.
Completely. Most of us chase peace, assuming it's like the prize for perfect behavior, right? Or perfect self-care routines or perfect performance at work. We try to be perfectly organized so that we can finally deserve peace.
Oh, I know that list. The attempts to activate the peace setting. The right candles, the meditation app, saying no more often, repeating affirmations.
All the tools in the arsenal.
Yeah. And sometimes, maybe they work a little. But often, like the source material notes, it's just for a moment, a breath, an hour, and then the weight just creeps back in, sometimes heavier, because you feel like you failed again.
And that very pattern, that cycle, it reveals the core insight here. Peace isn't some setting you activate. It's not a reward you earn for good behavior. It's actually what emerges when you stop abandoning yourself.
Abandoning yourself? How do you mean?
When you stop treating your inner world like it's some kind of mess that needs frantic cleaning before company arrives. You know, if you're sitting on a meditation cushion, trying really hard to be peaceful, but internally you're judging the sadness that's actually there, or fighting the restlessness, well, the expensive candle isn't going to make much difference.
Because you're performing peace while actually rejecting what's real inside.
Precisely. You're actively at war with your own internal reality in the name of finding peace.
So the exhaustion we feel, maybe it isn't caused by the sadness itself or the anxiety, but by the massive, relentless effort it takes to keep that feeling at arm's length. The self-abandonment is the real workout.
It is incredibly exhausting work. Maintaining that distance from yourself takes huge energy. Now think about maybe those moments when you did feel truly quiet inside. Often they're accidental, aren't they?
Yeah, like laughing really hard at something silly.
Or sitting in the car for a minute before going inside, just silence. Or maybe watching rain. In those moments, you weren't judging yourself. Right? You weren't planning the next thing. You weren't trying to be present. You were just there.
We were present without trying to achieve presence.
Yeah.
And peace just showed up without the effort.
And that is the really profound realization. Peace is not the absence of chaos. It's not about getting rid of all the hard feelings. It's the presence of you right in the middle of whatever's happening.
Right.
If you can somehow be fully present with your current discomfort, like that tight jaw you mentioned, or restless hands, or that low hum of fear maybe, if you can just be with it, the intense pressure to fix it starts to dissolve, and that's where the quiet comes from. It's a quiet born from acceptance, not from winning some internal battle.
Okay, this sounds incredibly inviting, like deeply inviting. But we have to talk about the catch, right? The painful, beautiful catch of presence, as the source calls it.
Yes.
Because being truly present means being present with, well, everything. Not just the nice insights or the moments of gratitude. It means being present with the messy, the uncomfortable, the stuff we've spent years, maybe lifetimes, building defenses against.
And that's exactly why the running is so automatic, so strong. We run from those feelings we've deemed unacceptable. And often it's not because they're inherently toxic or dangerous, but simply because we were never taught how to hold them. We never learned the internal capacity.
We were taught they were bad or weak or signs of failure.
Exactly. Dangerous, unproductive, maybe even morally wrong.
Can we maybe name some of those? Like, what are the specific unacceptable feelings we're often hiding from, even from ourselves?
Yeah.
What are those shadows we run into work or distraction to avoid?
Oh, there's a whole cast of characters we tend to disown, isn't there? There's that low-grade, persistent irritation, you know? The one we blame on the traffic or the slow computer or that annoying coworker. That's often just unexpressed anger, maybe old anger. Then there's the grief. Unnamed grief, often tucked away years ago because maybe it didn't fit the family story or we didn't have space for it then. There's shame. That hot, prickly, deeply uncomfortable shame that we bury under layers of achievement or perfectionism. There's loneliness, profound loneliness sometimes, that we expertly disguise as fierce independence. You know, I don't need anyone.
Yeah, I recognize that one.
And sometimes just raw, ancient fear. Fear of vulnerability, fear of not being enough. And we relabel that. We call it intuition, maybe, or just being cautious or having high standards. We run from these messy, very human truths because somewhere along the line we learned that being messy felt unsafe.
And we become masters of avoidance architecture. We build these elaborate lives, almost perfectly designed to keep us running. Careers with endless achievement cycles, hyper-focus on fixing relationships, constant streams of distraction. And maybe the sneakiest one, the relentless quest for self-improvement and healing, always looking for the next technique.
We get so good at running, we forget we're even in motion. We mistake the running for living.
Yeah.
And we have to put this in context, too. We're living, breathing organisms trying to survive, right?
Yeah.
In a culture that is often, well, almost pathologically obsessed with efficiency, with optimization, with doing.
The world doesn't often stop and ask, hey, what do you actually need right now, deep down in your body?
Rarely. And it certainly doesn't wait around for a slow, nuanced answer. So what did we learn? We learned to override the body's signals, push through the pain, perform the role, live perpetually in the future, planning, anticipating, worrying. Because the present moment, it often felt too much, or too empty, or too uncertain, just too real.
So postponement became our primary survival skill.
It really did. And this is where the Source offers such a deeply compassionate reframe. It says, look, you're not broken because you feel this weight. You're simply an organism that learned, probably out of very real necessity, to postpone your own needs, your own cycles. So the invitation isn't, start another demanding self-help program. It's much simpler. It's just stop the running, just for a moment, maybe even right now. And ask yourself, like you'd ask a dear friend you haven't seen in ages, what's alive in you right now, right this second?
And crucially, the answer has to come from not the head, right? Not the analytical mind that wants to write a report about the feeling.
Oh, absolutely not. The mind will instantly try to explain it, justify it, create a to-do list to fix it. The answer we're looking for comes from the felt sense of the body.
The clench in the jaw, the heat in the chest.
Exactly. That sudden warmth in your face, the pressure behind your sternum, that little flutter in your belly. Maybe just the urge to pace or look away or sigh deeply. That raw physical sensation that is the homecoming. That's the presence we've been avoiding. We have to learn or relearn how to listen to the body's language again. Moving away from the fancy psychological terms for a moment and back to the elemental vocabulary of sensation and impulse. Now, to really get why this weight feels so sticky, so relentless sometimes, we need to look under the hood a bit. At the core mechanics of how we as organisms are designed to process experience, this is really a cornerstone concept in Gestalt therapy, the cycle of experience.
Okay, the cycle of experience.
Yeah. Think of it as the natural, organic, kind of elegant rhythm of how a healthy organism moves through life, how we notice needs, meet them, and then return to a state of rest. It's the basic flow of being alive.
Like a body's operating system for everything. Emotional stuff, physical needs.
Pretty much. It's a flow like a river with some distinct stages, though it's all fluid. First, something happens maybe internally, like a pang of hunger or a surge of excitement, or externally, like someone says something sharp.
Yep.
Second, we gain awareness of that sensation or event. We notice it. Third, we mobilize energy towards whatever needs to happen. Our muscles might tense. Our focus sharpens. There's a readiness. Fourth, we make contact. We interact with the feeling or the person or the sandwich.
Right.
Fifth, we satisfy the need. We eat the sandwich, we express the feeling, we set the boundary, we cry the tears, and finally, crucially, we withdraw and rest. There's a sense of completion, of closure, the energy discharges.
Okay, so if that cycle just flows smoothly, the energy moves through, gets released, and peace, or maybe it's just equilibrium, is the natural result, like breathing out.
Exactly. Simple, natural, efficient, but this is where the interruption happens. This is what creates that feeling of weight, of stuckness.
Where does it get interrupted?
Well, it can happen at several points, but most commonly we get stuck between awareness and contact. We become aware of something, say, a deep need for rest or a flicker of anger, and then we freeze. We decide, consciously or unconsciously, that the feeling or need is inappropriate, inconvenient, dangerous, impossible.
So we stop it before it can even gather momentum.
Or we mobilize the energy. We feel that surge of frustration or that pull towards connection, and then we immediately misdirect it. We channel it into frantic busy work or endless scrolling or picking a fight about something else entirely. We distract.
Or we reach out for contact, maybe start to express something, and then pull back out of fear or habit.
Yes, that too. Or we meet the need, the feeling, the impulse with instant judgment. I shouldn't feel this way. Good people don't get this angry. I'm too needy. That's selfish.
So the need never actually gets met. The cycle doesn't complete. And we don't get that feeling of withdrawal, of rest, of closure. We're just left hanging.
Perpetually suspended, half charged, half expressed, carrying all this accumulated pressure from incomplete cycles.
And that suspension, that's the unfinished business you mentioned.
That is the very definition of unfinished business.
Yep.
And that is the heavy, persistent weight we carry around. It's not always some massive singular trauma, although it can include that. Often it's the sheer weight of countless tiny, everyday cycles that we started and then interrupted before they could naturally complete themselves.
Let's walk through that sadness example again, but using this cycle. Because I think seeing the interruption points really clarifies how subtle the self-abandonment can be.
Okay, great idea. That's crucial. So let's say you're just sitting there, maybe trying to relax, and suddenly a wave of just unnamed sadness washes over you.
Yeah.
Awareness, you feel it, maybe a heaviness in your chest, pressure behind the eyes. You notice, sadness is here.
Got it.
Interruption. Almost instantly, the mind jumps in. Whoa, no, I shouldn't feel this right now. I have that important meeting in an hour. This is unproductive. This is weak.
So suppression kicks in, and we mobilize the energy that maybe wanted to become tears or just quiet reflection, and we redirect it somewhere else fast.
We'd engage the distraction machinery immediately. Turn up loud music. Open the fridge, even if you're not hungry. Start scrolling social media aggressively. Pick a fight with your partner about, the dishwasher. Make a frantic to-do list for the rest of the day. Anything to push that mobilized energy away from the sadness.
And the modern ways are subtle too, right? Like you said, spiritualizing it or therapizing it on the spot.
Oh, absolutely. Sophisticated interruptions. This is just lower vibrational energy. I need to raise my frequency. Or, this is my inner child's abandonment wound. I must journal 3 pages immediately to process it. Anything, literally anything, except allowing the raw feeling of sadness to just be there, to be fully felt for a moment without needing an explanation or a fix.
And because that energy was mobilized but never actually expressed or released through satisfying the need, like maybe the need was just to feel sad for 5 minutes, the cycle is broken, the sadness doesn't just evaporate.
No, it has to go somewhere. It physically settles. It finds a new home in the body. Maybe it becomes that chronic tightness in your shoulders, or that constant low-level irritability, or that deep nagging exhaustion that doesn't make sense based on your sleep.
So we end up constantly managing the symptoms of the interruption rather than just meeting the original feeling.
Exactly. We are always, often subconsciously, managing and containing everything we refuse to meet directly. And that makes genuine peace, genuine rest, feel impossible because we're basically always on guard duty against ourselves.
Which brings us right back to that core idea. We weren't taught how to just be with disturbance. We were taught, fix it, overcome it, be resilient, stay positive. Feeling bad means you're doing it wrong.
Precisely. We learned self-abandonment as a survival strategy, often disguised as strength or productivity, but now maybe the body is sending different signals. It's asking for something else. Not more control, not more discipline, not another technique, just presence.
So that little bit of tension, that fidgety feeling, that urge to look away when something feels uncomfortable, that's not a malfunction.
It's not a bug, it's a feature. It's data. It's your organism, your natural rhythm, trying desperately to complete a cycle, trying to cry or shout or rest deeply or say a firm no. We've spent years translating that raw aliveness into polite, acceptable language, but the body still speaks in sensation and impulse. And finding peace is really about regaining the capacity to be with that internal disturbance without automatically resorting to abandoning ourselves again.
Okay, but I have a question here, a point of maybe confusion.
Yeah.
How do we tell the difference between an interrupted cycle that needs our presence to complete and genuine emotional exhaustion where the need is actually rest? Or maybe the need is a boundary. If I feel totally overwhelmed, is the work to be with the overwhelm or is the work to stop and rest?
That is such an important practical question. It really is. The difference often lies in the quality of the energy and the intention behind the action. Interruption is usually an automatic defense, right? It's a running away from the present feeling, often driven by the mind's judgment this shouldn't be happening or I can't handle this. It often feels frantic, avoidant, maybe even a bit numb.
Okay.
Genuine rest, or setting a necessary boundary when it comes from a place of self-contact, feels different. It's an action born from awareness, not against it. It's the body saying, with clarity, I am here, I feel this overwhelm, and what I recognize I truly need right now is profound stillness, or I need separation. The energy behind genuine rest feels more grounded, heavier perhaps, more like a yielding than a frantic escape.
So if the rest involves immediately grabbing my phone to scroll, or leads to instant self-criticism like I shouldn't be resting, that might be a clue. It's actually an interruption disguised as rest.
That's often a very good indicator, yes. True rest, born from contact, tends to feel settling, even if the circumstances are still difficult. Interruption often just kicks the can down the road, leaving that underlying tension still humming. It takes practice, discriminating between those impulses.
Okay, so we've got the weight from interruption. But if full contact, full presence is the goal, we still need to tackle why we avoid it so hard. Because sometimes, let's be honest, the thing we need to feel the depth of the fear, the oldness of the shame, it just feels too big, too overwhelming, maybe too buried to face alone.
Absolutely. And that's where the psyche's really ingenious, but ultimately quite costly protective mechanisms come online. One of the most powerful and relevant here is projection.
Projection. All right.
Projection is basically the mind's way of saying, whoa, this feeling inside me, this rage, this inadequacy, this terror, it feels too dangerous, too massive to hold right here. So I'm going to unconsciously locate it outside of myself. I'll put it onto the world or onto other people where I can point at it, maybe try to manage it from a distance.
So you're shifting the source, making the feeling about them or it instead of about me. And the responsibility shifts too.
Precisely. And this fundamentally erodes our sense of agency or ability to respond rather than react. So instead of acknowledging maybe, wow, I'm feeling really overwhelmed and disconnected right now, we might find ourselves saying with great conviction, the world is just too much. Society is fundamentally broken.
Or instead of feeling, I feel so lonely and have this deep fear of being abandoned, it becomes,
everyone always leaves. You just can't trust people. It becomes a generalized truth about the world. Or instead of owning, I'm terrified of failing, of being seen as not good enough, we might constantly perceive others as critical. People are so judgmental, they're always scrutinizing everything I do.
So following that logic, when someone feels that pervasive sense of like nothing feels meaningful anymore, the projection might be masking a deeper internal truth. Like maybe I don't actually know who I am if I start performing, if I stop achieving.
That's a classic pattern.
Yeah.
Yes, projection essentially exports the internal conflict into the external world. We create enemies or problems out there to avoid facing the discomfort in here. But the problem is, real peace, real settling can only happen in the internal space we're avoiding.
And it creates this constant battle, right? If you project your fear onto a judgmental world, you can never really relax because the perceived threat is everywhere.
Exactly. You're constantly scanning, constantly defensive. It's exhausting.
Okay, and now, maybe the most counterintuitive piece of the whole thing. The source suggests that sometimes, on a really deep level, maybe not even consciously, we choose the weight. We choose to keep carrying it.
It sounds completely paradoxical, doesn't it? But it makes a certain kind of psychological sense.
Why? Why would we choose the familiar heaviness over the potential freedom of presence?
Because the weight is known. The weight is familiar territory. It's uncomfortable, yes, but in a strange way, it can feel safer than the alternative.
Safer how?
It's the landscape we've learned to navigate. We know its contours, the weight, the running, the managing. It doesn't actually ask us to fundamentally change who we think we are, but facing the true feelings underneath. The raw grief, the unexpressed rage, the deep vulnerable longing. That means allowing a different version of ourselves to emerge. A messier version, maybe. Wilder, more whole.
And that whole self might clash with the controlled, productive, good person we were taught we had.
Often, yes, dramatically. So unconsciously, we might choose the chronic, manageable pain of the weight over the terrifying, unpredictable vitality of actually being fully whole, fully alive. It's the devil you know.
So if we do choose differently, if we decide to stop running, even for a moment, and consciously try to put the weight down, what happens then? We have to face that point of resistance, right? What Gestalt calls the edge.
Yes. The edge. That's the exact psychological or somatic place where the cycle always got interrupted before. It's the threshold we learn not to cross. And the moment we choose allowing instead of avoiding, the moment we stay at the edge without turning back, the feeling that was stuck there finally gets permission to move.
The sadness, the anger, the fear, it can actually flow.
It can move through you, unimpeded, like weather moving through the sky. Or like a wave that finally crests and breaks on the shore. And the profound discovery, the thing that's both terrifying beforehand and relieving afterward, is that the feeling, it doesn't actually destroy you. It has an intensity, yes. It peaks, and then it falls. It subsides.
And when it passes, it leaves
space. Just space. Not necessarily fixed space or perfectly healed space, just open, available, present space. And this is why awareness is curative. Not because awareness magically changes the feeling into something positive, but because it fundamentally changes our relationship to the feeling. It allows everything to be exactly as it is without resistance.
And in that allowing, the internal fight stops.
The fighting stops. And peace isn't something we achieve. It's simply the natural byproduct of that non-resistance. It was there all along, underneath the struggle.
This really points towards, I think, the final, really critical shift in perspective here. Moving away from this whole paradigm of constantly becoming someone else and towards the simple, radical practice of just being.
Exactly. We spend so much energy, sometimes decades, trying to become someone who we think finally deserves peace. You know, someone who's perfectly healed, perfectly organized, totally enlightened, financially secure, universally liked. Then we'll allow ourselves to rest, to feel okay.
But the source material makes this beautiful, almost subversive claim. Peace doesn't arrive after you finally become that imaginary perfected person. It arrives the moment you stop becoming and just start being with what's actually here, right now.
It's the permission slip. Permission to be currently imperfect, currently contradictory, currently feeling messy or confused or angry or tired.
So the final invitation isn't really another task to add to the endless self-improvement list. It's more like tearing up the list. It's a permission slip. Maybe like a 24-hour permission slip to be exactly as you are. No fixing needed.
Precisely that. Radical permission. Just for today, maybe. Give yourself permission for the full spectrum of your internal life. The messy feelings, yes. The tight, restless body. The imperfect, shallow breaths sometimes. The deep contradictions you hold. The simmering rage you usually suppress. The pervasive numbness you try to push through. The raw, inconvenient longing. Welcome all of it in.
Not because it's pleasant, necessarily, or it leads to some instant bliss.
No, not at all. But simply because it is factually, biologically, existentially yours in this moment. It's what's true right now.
Okay, but what if someone tries this? They pause, they check in.
Yeah.
They feel nothing, just blankness. We've talked a lot about intense feelings, but what about that deep protective numbness?
That is absolutely not a failure. That is just more data. Potent data, actually. The nothing, the numbness, it isn't truly empty. It's often full. It's full of everything that got postponed, shut down maybe years ago. It's like a room full of stored furniture waiting for you to gently open the door.
So it's a sign of disconnection, maybe.
It's often the organism saying, I've been disconnected for so long, maybe it felt safer that way that I've kind of forgotten how to send clear signals. So if you meet numbness, you start smaller, much smaller. Can you feel the simple weight of your body on the chair right now? Can you feel the sensation of the air moving just inside your nostrils as you breathe? That's contact. Simple, elemental contact. That's presence beginning to return the call, gently.
And the opposite. What if someone checks in, asks that question, what's alive in me? And they're just flooded, hit with a huge wave of overwhelm. Too much feeling.
Well, first, congratulations. If you feel overwhelmed when you turn towards yourself, it likely means you are successfully making contact with something real, potent, and alive that has been patiently or impatiently waiting for your attention for a long time.
So don't panic and run.
Try not to. Don't push it away. Don't immediately try to analyze it or shrink it down to a manageable size. Just breathe. Remind yourself. You don't have to solve this feeling right now. You just have to let it exist. Let it be here with you for this moment. Overwhelm is often the sensation of many unfinished cycles rushing towards the door all at once, seeking completion. Yeah. You don't have to process them all instantly. Just stay present with the sensation of overwhelm itself.
So the core practice then. Completion through presence. It sounds simple, but obviously profoundly challenging. Find a moment, stillness, however brief. Ask, what's unfinished in me right now? And then listen. Listen to the body's immediate nonverbal reply.
Yes. Listen for the tightness, the impulse to move, a sudden heat, a flicker of an old memory or grief, maybe unexpected tears just behind the eyes. And when something arises, the response isn't analysis or judgment or fixing. It's just relational presence, saying gently but firmly, internally to that sensation, that feeling, okay, I see you, I feel you, I'm here with you now.
And completion isn't necessarily about getting a neat resolution or understanding everything.
Not always. Sometimes, yes, insights come, but often completion is simply about the presence, allowing what is to finally be fully, fiercely even, and then trusting that, having been met, it can begin to move, to shift, to complete its cycle naturally.
Wow.
And this brings us, I think, to a more durable, realistic understanding of peace, the one we've been kind of circling around, the weight, the chaos, the difficult feelings, they will return.
Right, it's not a one-time fix.
Absolutely not. They must return because we're living, breathing, adapting, cycling organisms. Being alive means rhythm. It means waves. It means cycles of needs arising, needs being met, and new needs emerging. That's just the flow of being human. Peace isn't about achieving some permanent, glassy, undisturbed surface on the pond of our being.
It's more like learning to find the rest stops, the quiet moments between the waves.
Exactly. Learning to rest between the waves. Learning to find the ground even when the storm is blowing.
Which means fundamentally changing our relationship to the disturbance itself.
Yeah.
We have to stop seeing our feelings, even the hard ones, as enemies to be vanquished.
Yes. Stop treating our body like a machine that needs to perform flawlessly or be punished when it doesn't. Stop believing that rest or self-contact or peace are things that have to be earned through more effort, more self-improvement.
The secret, then, isn't finding the magic technique to eliminate all disturbance forever.
No. The secret, if there is one, is realizing you find peace by choosing, maybe just breath by breath, to meet yourself exactly where you are instead of constantly trying to fix yourself into some imagined better version.
And that choice, that radical self-acceptance, choosing presence right in the middle of the chaos, that feels like, as the source suggests, a quiet but really powerful act of rebellion.
It really is a rebellion against a culture that constantly tells us to postpone living, postpone feeling, postpone rest until we're somehow better.
So peace isn't hiding in the next promotion or the next spiritual retreat or the next therapy breakthrough necessarily.
It might be informed by those things, but its location is much closer. It's right here, now. Available in the next breath you take. Available in the next moment you choose to meet yourself honestly, just as you are, rather than trying to escape. It's realizing the frantic race to become someone else. Maybe that race was never real to begin with. And that realization leaves us with a final thought, something maybe to just carry around today. Not as another problem to solve, but maybe as a question. A potential doorway you notice you can walk through any time that familiar weight starts to press down. Just ask yourself gently, what if I stopped waiting? Stopped waiting for permission, stopped waiting for the conditions to be perfect, and just started belonging simply, fully, right now to myself.
Belonging to myself.
That choice right there, that's presence, that's the homecoming.